Hello, hello, hello on this beautiful Monday morning. Welcome to the Full Quarter Podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Lace here with me. It's a weekly cricketing podcast talking all things South African cricket. And it's funny because it feels as though you're just never short of content. Thinking about it over the weekend, I'm like, okay, what are you going to talk about? We've got the three stories. Shubnam took a hat trick. Well done, Shubnam. That was a really great hat trick. You then decide to Hilton Moraine staying on as Protea women's coach. I love Hilton. I've got a wildish take to that, so maybe I could, add that in. We'll talk about that at the later in the show. And then you've also got the fitness article that came out. For those Minda wrote about that on ESPN Cricket for CSA just letting go of their fitness requirements and leaving it to the coach and the team, which yeah,
I've got a hot take. I've got a hot take on that one, so I'll take the hot take on that one.
And we're going to talk about all of those, but we'll talk about them at the back end because about 2 hours before the show started, we got a message saying there's a Australia team squad announcement happening. I'm like, oh snap! Yes, it's 16 days before Australia plays South Africa. So, yeah, we've got squad announcement to talk about, and that's what we're going to be talking about. The Australia tour squads. We're going to be doing that. But before we go into that, remember, we are live on YouTube at One World Sports Radio. So please do hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done already, tell a friend to hit the subscribe button because we are bringing more content. Cheap Seats is also back. So if you want to do that too, please do. Also, on X, formerly Twitter, X, weird, thank you. Look, a Pretoria boy guy buying Twitter and then realizing that he wants to name it to X is the wildest thing. It's the worst thing Pretoria Boys has given to the world because Pretoria Boys has given us World Cup winning captains. And then they gave us Elon Musk. And then now I'm sitting there going because he changed Twitter to X. And now we're calling each other X. I'll see you on X. I'll find you on X. Follow me on X. So please follow the Full Quarter Pod on X. We're also on Spotify. Nice name. Well done. It's the green logo for the Android people. Please do type in Full Quarter Podcast and click follow there. Also, Apple Podcasts like me. If you're an Apple person, please go there and click follow. We really do appreciate it. Rate, review, send your comments. I love the comments on YouTube. Some challenge us, which is great. And some remind us that we need to stop thinking Kusal Mendes is Dananjaya de Silva. So, yeah, sorry to Kusal Mendes and Dananjaya de Silva. You guys are not alike. But, yeah, Kusal Mendes played for the Pretoria Capitals. So that is it. Now, Australia tour squads. Tim, today, South Africa announced the tour squads for Australia. And there's some really interesting names there looking at that. And I think it's quite keen. So let's look at the ODI team first. But before we do that, Tim, how was your weekend? I know that SA Emerging was playing. Were you watching? I got a weird message about Nielen van Heerden. And then I was like, but yeah, I know he shouldn't be there. But yeah, he's just an okay guy. But that's what SA Emerging is to find out who's here and who's there.
It's exactly. It's not a. We will get into it, but SA Emerging is not SAA. People need to realize it's not SAA. It's about the average age of the squad is 22. Average age of the squad is 22. Zimbabwe side was older, average age. So, we will get into it. I did watch it. I enjoyed it. Right? Huh?
We lost to Zimbabwe,
sorry?
Yes.
We lost the game. But I think there were more positives than negatives to go from the game, which we will get into. But I did watch the game, yes. Most of it, anyway. Certainly the batting. It was good. It was good to see young and up-and-coming guys taking their chance. Jordan Hamann is a real talent.
Joshua Richards is a real talent. But yeah.
Yes, well. Well, good to that. Otherwise, I'm fine. I'm fine.
The issue is that everyone looks at Jordan Hamann, but I'm sitting there going, "There's a guy. named Joshua Richards, who bats on the toughest batting wicket in the country. He scores runs and centuries there. And then you guys are going to come and talk to me about some guy in the Eastern Cape who bats on a flatter wicket and scores. Both can exist in this realm.
Yeah.
And I'll always be Team Joshua Richards. Obviously, we like younger kids, so I know South Africa has a fascination with youth. So that's the issue. But, okay, Tim, before we go, what were you expecting this morning, finding out that we've got a squad announcement out of the ODI team? What were you looking to see for the Australia ODIs?
Okay, so I was looking to see fresh faces, particularly for the T20 squad. Not so much the ODIs, because we know what the ODI World Cup squad is. Bar an injury, we know what it is. So that I wasn't expecting surprises there. T20 squad, I was expecting surprises. I was expecting new faces in terms of batting, guys that can strike rate of 130, 140 consistently, and we saw that. We saw that with Ferreira and Brevis coming in. Obviously Brevis has been talked about for a long time now. It feels like 3 or 4 years people have been saying he should be in the South African squad. But I'm actually very happy with both squads. So from what I was expected to see, I saw. Very happy. It will be interesting to see Maharaj, because of the press release, they have, let me get this right, they have rested him for the first 2 games, I think. I think I'm right. And then they're going to play him from the rest, because the general consensus was he's not 100% yet, but he's getting there. So, and at the same time, they said
for the second and third T20s.
There we go. There we go. And they also said if he doesn't come through, that obviously they will need to find a replacement. So it will be interesting to see for him, because this is quite a turnaround for him. Quick turnaround from his bad injury.
And I think for me that's the thing, right? Keshav, if you see this, please let us all know who your doctor is, because that is one of the most miraculous recoveries from the Achilles. Maybe it was a lower grade, but I am so happy that you're back. And I hope that this is like an advance in medical science, that an Achilles injury can be sorted out within around about 6 months, actually. Or it's 9 months. Let's give him that. 8 to 9 months. Which normally people are doing rehab and in the middle of their rehab and aiming for that 12-month mark. So it speaks to your character. It speaks to your efforts with your rehab team, and your surgeon did an incredible job getting you back out there. So it's good to have you back, and please do let us know who your doctor is, because we'd like to keep that name in our back pocket in case any other ankle injuries rupture anytime soon. But it adds a lot of complexity. So I'm going to put the squad up and I'm going to read it out for our audio people. Images are courtesy of the of CSA, so thank you to CSA for that. Temba Bavuma is captain. Devot Brevis is in the squad. He's getting his first call-up, which is awesome, as Tim has said. Gerald Kasia also gets another call-up into the ODI squad. Quinton de Kock, Bjorn Fortuin, Reza Hendricks, Marco Janssen, Heino Clausen, Sisanda Magala, Keshav Maharaj, Eden Markram, David Miller, nearly called him Devot Miller, but he's David Miller, Lungingiti, Anoch Nokia, Tibre Shamsi, Wayne Parnell, Kakisura Bada, Tristan Stubbs, and Rassi van der Dissen. What I can tell you, in the middle of that Australia series, we will have a World Cup squad announcement on the 5th of September. This is going to be very wild, Tim, because if you have a World Cup squad announcement on the 5th of September and you are going to play your first ODI on the 7th of September, surely this is it? And there can't be someone else coming in from here? Is there someone that could come in from here?
So the thing is, as I said, we know what the squad is. We know that this is the World. We know what the World Cup squad is. The only question is Maharaj. For me, the only question is Maharaj fit enough? if he's fit enough, he goes. If he's not, he doesn't go, and somebody else comes in. I think this is the squad. We know it. We know it. We know what's happening. We know which team we're going with. We even know I would even say we even know the batting order we're going with.
What's your batting order?
We know who's going to be where. I don't think there's going to be any surprises, providing everybody is going to be fit. It's the T20 squad that is the one that's interesting. But from a South African point of view, it's good that we have the consistency. It's good that we know already what the squad is. You look at somebody, you look at like a team like India. Yes, okay, they took a slightly weakened side to the West Indies, but they really struggled there, both in the ODIs and the T20s. I don't think there's many questions that need to be answered. The only question is, can South Africa perform at the World Cup? That is the only question that is on.
Hold up. No. Hold up. I'm gonna put the squad list up, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm asking you to hold up. Look, okay. Our starting 11. Our best 6 batsmen, right? It's Temba, it's Quinton, it's Rassie van der Dussen, it's Aiden at 4, David at 5, Heino Klaasen at 6. Heino Klaasen's on form. You cannot drop Heino Klaasen.
No.
We have a question at 7. Right? It's not about performing at the World Cup. It's who's going to be batting at 7. Is it Tristan Stubbs? But Tristan Stubbs can't bowl. Is it Marco Jansen? Can he bat that high up? Is it Wayne Parnell? But 7's always been too high for Wayne Parnell. So that's question number 1. And that's my thing with this team. There is no batting all-rounder who bowls. So, for instance, if you told me what the biggest issue with this team would be, is 7 and 8. I think we've got 8 total. If you go with the bowling lineup of Marco Jansen, Keshav Maharaj, okay, Marco Jansen or Wayne at 8. Then you go Keshav and another spinner, might be Bjorn or it might be Cabrez, and 2 seamers. 8, 9, 10, 11, 1 seamer, right? So you need a 3rd seamer. You might even, and that's my issue, right? Now, if you need a 2nd seamer, if you're taking Anrich and Kagiso and 2 spinners because we're playing in India, your 3rd seamer needs to be able to bat at 7 and give you runs. Does Wayne and Marco, are they enough of a sample size? And speaking about guys who've been missed out on, it's Vian Mulder, right? Are our all-rounders in that 7th spot enough for us to go to the World Cup, to perform like you said at the World Cup? Because that for me is my question. I love Aiden. I don't think Aiden can bowl 10 overs in an ODI. That's 1. He can bowl max 5. 10, you could be asking for. Every time Aiden bowls to me, and I know everyone's going to be like, move on, you're a hater, whatever it is. I honestly think the next over could be in trouble. We could be in trouble. But he's done well from a T20 perspective to be considered that extra bowler. And if you look at the T20 side, I'm okay with Aiden being there and you can have a 7th batter, right? But does Aiden Markram buy you the ability to play Ariza Hendricks in this team, to have 7 batsmen and then have your 4 bowlers? Or does it then give you, because I look at Wayne and I look at Marco. Marco shows me promise. I've seen Wayne. I know what Wayne can give me. When I need Wayne, he doesn't arrive. When I don't need him, he arrives. I'm worried about that spot in the team, and I think the way they're looking at it is that they're going to put one of those 2 in there at 7, and I think we might. That's where the squad has many questions for me. Where do you see that?
So you are right. There is an element of risk in who we pick. I think it's going to be a question of not the extra batter. I think we are going to go. We need that sixth option. We need a solid 6th option. So we're gonna go with the batter light, so to speak. So whether we go with Wayne or Judson, I think you're right. I think that is going to be the only, well, not the only, that's going to be the conundrum that South Africa are going to have to deal with. I've been saying for a while now that I do think that if we take Wayne, we're taking him to a World Cup that I don't think he should be going to. I don't.
But is this the World Cup for Marco Jansen?
I think this is the Marco Jansen one. I think this is the Marco Jansen one, and you play him at 7, and yes, okay, you would ideally like him at 8, of course, but I think that is a risk worth taking. If you have him at 7, I think that is a better balance of the side for what South Africa are looking for. I think if we go towards Parnell, I think there's going to be more good days with Jansen than there are with Parnell. I think there's less of a risk with Jansen. Jansen's going to come off with bat or ball or both. Parnell is only going to come off with the ball, and in recent times, I think his powers are starting to wane a little bit. You're not going to get the runs from him, 7. You're not going to get 15 of 10 from him. I don't think that that's an option that you can go with. You can go with that if Jansen is injured or something like that, or sick or something. But I think if you're asking me between the two, you're picking Jansen. I don't think there should be a debate about that.
Okay, I think I like that. From a bowling perspective, I think we're covered from the fast bowlers. I think the question that we need to answer going into this World Cup is whether who's the backup to Kagiso and Anweg? Is it Gerald or is it Lungi? I think that's the one. One will be a traveling reserve. One will be in the 15-man World Cup squad as the backup. At this point in time, I'm leaning towards Lungi, but you've got the pace argument. So do you want to double down on the pace argument? Or are you going to the guy who's got the best skill of the bowlers in this team and he's not even going to make the 11?
I'm with you. I for podcast purposes, I probably should go against you. But I think you're right. I think that you told Gerald, give it your all, the T20 series,
This World Cup's not for you unless there's an injury.
Start what? Yeah, exactly. I think that's the route you go. High quality bowler, and I think just we speak positively about him often enough on this podcast. Quality bowler, quality asset to have. I don't think you're going to need runs from him. So you don't go well. Gerald could smack a quick 20 of strike rate out of him. That's not why you're picking him. You're picking him to get wickets.
The other person that's here is Sisanda Magala. Where does Sisanda fit in all of this? Because that's my other question, right? I look at Lungi, I look at Gerald, and I'm like, I see where you guys are going with them. With Sisanda's the best death bowler we have. Is there a space for him? Can he also be that 7? Because remember, we know that Sisanda can bat, but I don't know if you guys are comfortable with the 7 who's a swashbuckling 7.
The only 7 I'm comfortable with slight concern, is Jansen. He's the only one. Okay. I put him at 7, I'm going to go, I know he's batting and position too high, but I know he can do it. Everybody else in that squad, I'm thinking no. I'm thinking that's too much of a risk. That's asking too much. Yes, we know Sisanda can bat. Of course he can. He's a very good and efficient 8. But I would not be. I would be saying to him, saying to him, like I said to Gerald, wickets. I don't care what you go for, wickets. You give me 3 for 50, done. Thank you very much.
But because we're in India, so if we're in Australia, Sisanda's is either in that 11 or a reserve, right, traveling to the World Cup. But because we are in India, Do you reserve a space first? Do you go in with 3 out-and-out seamers and 1 spinner, and Aiden's your second spinner? Obviously, it's conditions dependent, and each pitch in India will be different, but the general idea is you taking 2 spinners. What do you tell us, Sisanda Magala? It's if you take wickets on this tour, but this. So here's the wild one, right? Our World Cup squad is going to be announced before we even bowl a ball, in against Australia. So essentially, it's a training that you're going to have to prove yourself, right? What does Sisanda have to do to be on the plane to India?
Consistency in terms of giving us what he is good at. So bowling well at the death, good changes in pace, not being shy to use the changes in pace. I think there are times when he just sort of goes through the motions. He doesn't give us his repertoire offered enough. I think that is, and I think that's a confidence thing.
Yeah,
that's come from the failure of the fitness tests. They all linked. If he gives us what he is capable of on a consistent basis, I think, as I say, I think 14 of those names are done, sealed, done. And
so who are the 5 that are interesting, that are not done? And it's 5 into 3. It's 5 into 4. So one person is not going to be a traveling reserve, and the other 3 are going to be reserves, and one's going to be in the squad. So who are the 5 that are on the bubble? Let's discuss that. Who's on the bubble?
So obviously Gerald, obviously Sisanda, and just show me. I mean, just have a look. I know this is bad podcasting.
So it's not. It's our video people can watch. So it's Gerald and Sisanda. I think for me, it's Dewald. It's Tristan.
And obviously, yeah,
and,
yes,
and Ngiti. I don't know if the third. I think we're taking 3 spinners to India, and the 3 that we've picked here are going.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yes, and
obviously with the caveat that Maharaj is fit. If he's not going. Obviously.
Then who's the third spinner? So then we go into the World Cup with 2 spinners and Aiden Markram.
I think what's going to happen, as I said, this is a squad, but if Maharaj is injured, I think somebody from the outside has to come in. Off the top of my head, I'm struggling to name somebody.
Cool. So
but I'm thinking somebody like Muthusamy, somebody like that. You need a like for like. You don't need a Maharaj to be replaced by a batsman. It needs to be a spinner. It desperately needs to be a spinner.
And I think that's the thing, right? So the guys on the bubble are Dewald, Gerald, Lungi, Sisanda, and Tristan, right? Because Tristan is fighting for a spot against Heinrich Klaassen. Heinrich, based on form and experience in ODIs, he's the number 6 in this team. He's the finisher of this team, right? Tristan is a nice little backup finisher. I think you take Tristan to the World Cup along with Reza as your backup batsman. Reza's the backup batsman for this ODI team. He's been there for a year. So that's it. The Deva Brevis one is quite interesting, Tim, because it's his debut series. He hasn't played a match for South Africa, yet he is here. Is he here to watch the process? Because what value will he get in playing the ODIs if he's not going to the World Cup? Or even if he's a traveling reserve? Because surely we haven't played a lot of ODIs this year. This is your warm-up games before you get on a flight to India. So what's the whole point with having Dewald Brevis in the squad right now?
The only thing that I would imagine is that the selectors are thinking, we need an X factor. We need a difference maker. We need somebody who can support Miller. We are not entirely convinced on Tristan, for example. We're not entirely convinced. We're not sold on him yet. What we need is a difference maker. That difference maker could be Brevis. I think he is going to miss out, but I think that they're going. He's done it in the CPL. He's done it in the IPL. everywhere he's done it. No, but everywhere he's been, he has done it. So if he can do it here, if he can do it against serial winners Australia, then he's in. Then
He
he's in.
can't be because the squad's being announced before the first ODI.
Oh no, of course.
So we're going to be
Of
picking
course
him
not.
on a T20 form, right?
No, of course.
Which he
Sorry.
he could
Sorry.
be having a bad week. No, I get you, but and
Yeah.
that's the question that you need to ask, right? Is this some sort of Rassi and Jacques Nienabas type of master plan hoodwink type of thing where someone's going to get injured just before the World Cup and Devel Brevis will just be hot at that time? I do think it's between Develt and Tristan for a spot on the plane to India, not necessarily in the 15. And I think maybe actually in the 15, I do think, I don't think either of them will miss out. I think the one of the fast bowlers is going to be the one who misses out of the final 18. It'll be 15 plus 3. And so I do think one of the quicks between Lungi, Gerald, and Sisanda in terms of missing out from the final 18, unless if it's a question of whether if Keshav is truly injured, he will walk out of that 18 entirely. And I don't think they pick Sen. I think Sen is on standby. I do think they go in with 3 spinners, 2 that will play throughout the tournament, and Aiden as your 6th bowler is going to pick up some overs here and there as you go throughout the tournament. If there is an injury, you might have somebody there, but I do think one of the quicks goes if Maharaj is not fit, he will go 2. He won't go 2, and then I think one of Riza, Develt, and Tristan don't. Either 2 of them are in the squad as backups, and one of them is a reserve batter on that side. So I look at that and I'm like, but are we just gonna blindly pick this guy and be like Australian, be like, pick Tim David, he should play, he's done well, put him in, and then they don't. So like the last World Cup, get Steve Smith out there, he's too old, type of vibes. So yeah, so that's my thing. I'm happy that he's in the squad. I just don't know what value he brings if he's not going to India. And looking at this 19 set of names, no, he's not going to India. And please don't come in your comments and tell me Rassi van der Dussen must go. Rassi is going to India. He's your starting 3. There's no way you're dropping a guy who still, even after a bad year last year, averages around 55, 60 in ODIs. So Rassi's my man for all seasons. He's my man for all World Cups. Rassi is going to that World Cup. So don't come with this Rassi slander just because you want Devel Brevis. The other thing is Devel Brevis' best position is 4 down to 6. So I get the argument of an X factor, but my then question to you, Tim, is Hannah Clausen not enough of an X factor for you?
12 months ago, no. 12 months ago, I'm going, Miller needs company. Mm-hmm. If we can't go to the World Cup with Miller and nobody else, and Aiden on the odd occasion doing something, now situation has completely changed. Now, and I think they're right. He is the in-form player, or right up there with the top 3 or 4 in the world in terms of in-form batters. He is right in the purple patch of his career.
Yes.
He is striking the ball better than he's ever done. And I think that comes down to backing. I think he has a very good relationship with the coaches. Both of them, actually. Obviously, he's working with Robert now, but I think he has a good relationship with both of them. And I think that's largely it. I think it's we want you. You are a man, and it's full backing. And he's gone, you know what? I'm loving it.
No, I am. And one of the things, obviously, is the way he's been batting in the T20 leagues around the world. In the, what is it? That thing that England did.
The 100!
Yes, that one. He did really well. He's scoring runs. And to a certain extent, for me, you can't leave him out. And that's why Tristan Stubbs, this year, you need to fight for your position, bruh. You really, really do, because you're gonna be overtaken by Heinrich Klaassen, and he's gonna make this position his own. He's gonna let go of the gloves, which I think he will for this ODI series. Let Quinton keep, and the guys just gonna bash the ball around the park for as long as possible. So, yeah, it's about finding a way in, and it is. Before we go on, anybody unlucky to miss out? I know Lazard Williams is unlucky to miss out. I think Senran Mutusami is unlucky to miss out because of Kesha's a miracle recovery, which is amazing. But he's unlucky to miss out. Anybody else who was on the bubble of looking to put a thing in, because it's unfair because we don't have a lot of ODIs right this year, so no one can say let me put a hand up and do that. And to a certain extent, guys have been picked on T24.
Yes, exactly.
Or
I
lack
mean,
thereof.
people are going to say, they're going to say, last year's One Day Cup leading run score is not here. Yeah, that's a valid point, but that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. And I do
Was
feel for him.
December.
I do feel for Ryan. I do. I 100% feel for him. You know, he has got the
Kind
game
of
for it.
feel
Um,
that Devil Brevis spot was supposed to be his.
yeah,
I kind of feel.
but again, they went, yes, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and to a certain extent, that's the frustration, right? What's the point of having a one-day cup where a guy blows everyone out the water, similar to what Aiden Markham did 2-3 years ago, when he was busy bullying other people's children here domestically, and he just gets overlooked, even from the backup batsman side of things, right? I know Ryan bats a little bit higher up the order, Devil can bat lower down the order, but one has a much higher ceiling. But one actually is doing it in the same competition that a certain Devil Brevis was playing in and couldn't do anything. So, apples for apples. That's the only question. And if I'm Ryan Rickleton, I'm pissed right now. Truly, truly angry. Truly angry. And let's leave it at that. We're going to talk about that Oz SA series as we go into August. So let's go to the T20 team quickly. If I'm Ryan Rickleton, I am pissed too. I look at this and I'm like, But yes, he hasn't done well in T20s in the SA20. But if we're cross picking like we always do in South Africa, cross format selecting, this is a young squad, Tim. Britsky makes it in. We know what he can do. Timber finds his way back. And this is the wild one. I read that and I was like, yes, it's these people. Like, oh, Timber can't catch a break. Like, because I know, and the T20s precede the ODIs. If Timber has a stinker, because he's going to open the batting, right, with a Bretsky or even a Devil Brevis. If Timber has a stinker, oh my word, the whole of India is going to be on top of us, and some other parts of South Africa. There's a state there in South Africa that doesn't want black people. That they'll also be championing that. But I look at this team and I'm like, I'm excited. I like to see Donovan Ferreira in here. I think he adds a little bit of nous, and I think they'll get a lot of experience. So the team is Aiden Markham is the captain, Temba Bavuma, Matthew Bretsky, Devil Brevis, Gerald Kutsia, Donovan Ferreira, Bjorn Fortuin, Reza Hendricks, Marco Janssen, Susanna Magala, Kesha Maharaj, Lungingiti, Tabre Shamsi, Tristan Stubbs, Lazard Williams, and Rassi van der Dissen. Another person who I think is unfair to miss out is Senran Mutusami, especially if Kesh is only going to play the final two. This thing of playing one spinner irritates me, and we're playing in Durban as well, so I don't understand why we are not actually living in a two-spinner world, but that's just me. Ryan Rickleton, we spoke of, who's missed out. Anybody else when you look at this team? Because this is like SAA-ish. It's a mixture between the Proteas and SAA. It's like SAA plus, if there ever was a moniker you could give them, right? And the youngsters are in there. Britsky's in there. Kutsia's in there. You've got Devil Brevis who's in there, who possibly make his debut for the Proteas. What are you telling the youngsters, right? World Cup's a year away in America and the West Indies. What are you telling the guys?
Play your natural game. Be yourself. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, those guys that performed on the SA20, go out and do that. Go out, prove to us that it wasn't just a one-off. Go out and prove that you are the next best, so to speak. You are there to give us your all. Give us who you are. Don't be shy. I don't think there's going to be any sort of shyness of the squad. I think the squad are going to enjoy the series. I think it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, but I think it's going to be
Australia, dude. It's always tough.
Well, I say that because Australia have made some interesting changes to their squads, which we will get into next week. Next week we will have a chat with somebody from Australia to talk about that. But I'm excited for the series. I'm tired of T20 leagues. I watch very little T20 leagues around the world, but this series I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to this particular squad that they've assembled, showing us what they can do. I'm really happy with the selections, particularly at the batting. We knew that Jonathan Ferreira was going to get in at some stage. We knew that, but it's still fantastic for him to be there. Burtsky, I'm a little bit surprised about. Again, not because he hasn't done well. I just thought if I'm choosing between him and Ryan, I'm probably picking Ryan. But I'm glad he's there because I've always been a big fan of his. And then 2 years after his debut, and after a guest appearance on this podcast, Lazard is back. That's our magic working again.
I know, guys. Like, come to our podcast. You'll get on.
He was only on here for about 3 weeks ago.
Interesting one. He made SA emerging. He could, if Keshav's not, Keshav's not fit.
He could. He could.
Happy
the
for
other
Lazard.
one, the one I would sort of not question because he hasn't done it here, but it does. I don't know what it is. It does surprise me. Vian Mulder. Now, Vian, we know his talent. Yes, I'm sighing. I'm sighing because for at least 2 seasons now, I watch him. I watch him in England. I watch him and he does fantastically. He dominates. And he dominates more with the bat, actually, than with the ball. And I'm thinking, well, he's done it. He's done what I needed to be. He's going to come into the next squad. He's not made either squad. I'm not saying he should be there. I'm not at all. I probably wouldn't be picking him. My question is, why is he thriving in a different environment and he looks relaxed at Leicestershire. He looks happy. Go on.
I'll tell you why. It's because South Africa represents pressure. Every time he plays in South Africa, he knows everyone's watching him. And so therefore, it's a pressure moment and he's not a pressure guy. Like some of the guys in this team, they don't thrive under pressure. They just buckle. Well, in the history of South African cricket, whenever there was pressure, they've buckled. He is living that exact same way. It's that life. It's that I'm far away from the cameras. No one's not going to know. No one's going to be talking about it. No one's going to be writing about it. And that's it. My only question to the selectors is, what's your plan for a 7? We know you want a 7 who can bat. Guys around the world have 7s who score hundreds from number 7. They give your team a chance if things have fallen apart. It can't be David Miller, Heino Kloss, and then, can the guys hold on? Can they give me 20? You need bankers. We need to move on from that. The years of having Mark Boucher and guys are giving 20, 30 are over. And for me, that's the only question as to why he's not in the squad. This is the squad for the future. Vian Mulder is our future. Why isn't he in this T20 squad? You can pick him on the basis that he can do the same thing Aiden Markram did. Aiden couldn't bat to save his life, but he could bowl. And he could bowl at an adequate level, right? Vian Mulder's more than adequate with the ball. I would say he's a much better option than Marco Janssen there. And you can come and say Marco's batted better. The only difference between Vian Mulder and Marco is that Marco's got the confidence of, I don't know what. He is got more pressure. But from a ceiling perspective, from a batting perspective, Vian's your guy. And Vian is your 7. If you have Vian as your 7, things just fall into place. Which is why I look at that ODI squad and I'm like, guys, it's okay. I'd have gone into the World Cup with a Vian and been like, Vian, this is your moment to shine. Just go out there and score me runs. The wickets the other 4 can do. And you'll give me 5 overs. If you're having a bad day, we'll go to Aiden, right? And I don't think Vian's ever had a truly horrible day in Protea colors. The only difference is that he's not scoring runs, and that's the reason why he's not in these squads. And it's a pressure thing, right? We spoke about Heinrich and his backing. Maybe it's time to back Vian. It would have been a great time to back him here because I look at this squad and I'm like, Marco Janssen's there. He's the only bowling all-rounder here outside of Aiden Markram. And don't come to me with Devil Brevis things. Don't come at me. He's a batsman in this team. Don't come at me and be like leg spin, whatever it is. I know he can bowl leg spin, but I need a 7 who can do it. And I suspect Devil Brevis is going to be batting at 7 because everyone's going to be like leg spin. And that's okay too. That is seriously okay too. And even in the main squad, if Brevis can bowl leg spin at 7, that means Tabraiz Shams is gone. If Devil Brevis can bowl domestic level leg spin, like give me 7 or 8 overs, or if you can be just the same as Aiden Markram.
I was going to say
out of the team.
Yeah, bowl 5, Aiden bowls 5, done, top done. Thank you very much.
Yes, and Keshav does the other 10, and and so for me, I'm sitting here going, this is wild. This is very wild. Very, very wild. But every team needs a leg spinner. We've got a leg spinner in Brevis. We've also got Shamsi. From a bowling perspective, obviously, it's guys fighting for the next position as to who's the next best T20 bowler, fast bowler. I love Rassi in the squad. A lot of people wanted Rassi out. I look at this team. The only thing I'm going to talk about this team, the last thing I'm going to talk about this team, is Temba. What are we doing with Temba? What's going on? Like, what's happening? What happened? How is Timber
clean slate? Clean slate.
It's a clean slate. Clean slate.
I guarantee. Well, no, I can't guarantee because I don't know him that well. But I could pretty much guarantee the coaches are not on Twitter going, "What do the fans think of the squad?"
Maybe they should.
What do they think?
Consider what the fans are thinking.
What do they think of the format?
I don't know. But yeah, so opening the batting for me, and then you can take your pick as to whoever you want. But I'm happy Timber's in the squad. I'm happy Rees is in the squad. I think Rees is going to score lots of runs in this series. And Timber's done well in SA20, and I wish he was back in the auction instead of being retained at whatever low salary that they don't want to disclose at. Andile Petlugwa is a miss for this one, but we know Vian Mulder has the same thing as Andile Petlugwa, but Andile's issue, same thing as batting. Because Andile can bowl better than Vian. I'm just worried. The jury for me is out with Marco Jansen. He's an incredible bowler, and I think he should be fighting for a spot as a bowler, not as a bowler who can bat. He can bat. He's an 8. We need 7s. There's a 7 that's in England right now. There's a 7 that plays for the Durban Super Giants. It did okay. So cool. Those are the squads. Good luck to the Proteas. They play at the end of the month and into September. We've got the World Cup squad on the 5th before the ODI series, which is wild. But anyway, they're going on a cohesion camp, the ODI team, to Kruger National Park. So do enjoy that. Hopefully no drama happens again.
Lucky buggers.
Well, look, there's no Mark Barges. There won't be any weird fireside chats. Or there might be. You never know. But yeah. Okay. Next discussion, next point of discussion, quickly to close out the podcast. Couple of stories have come out this week. The main story, actually, the one that came out yesterday, was around CSA just letting go of the fitness requirements, the time trial. They will be there. So you're still going to run the time trial. Is that the person who's going to make the decision as to whether you're in or out is not the stopwatch. It's going to be the coach. I think many have heard me on the podcast. If you're taking wickets while fat, you can take wickets while fat. I know it's unhealthy. I get it. Please be on a program to be healthier and look a little bit leaner. But the elite mentality would be to use the stopwatch, to be like, this is what we need. And if you look at even our women's teams, even our men's teams, you'll see it with Australia, right? Everyone in Australia is a similar type of profile, and it works. And I know our bodies are all different, and we all have different things, but it's the first step in winning games. It's the first step in being focused. That's fitness. I'm happy they've gotten off the ledge and stopped being rigid, but you can see it's a new regime trying to sweep clean. I don't know what you think, Tim.
I think a lot. Okay, so first of all, I'd get rid of the two kilometer time trial. I'd get rid of it completely. When I was researching before this podcast, I watched a couple of videos of the England guys do their fitness tests 4 or 5 years ago, and at no stage did they mention any kind of 2K time trial. What they mentioned was 40-meter, 50-meter sprints at short passages, because if you are at mid wicket, batsman tops it and hits it out to the boundary. How much are you running? You're running maximum 40 meters. You're not running more than 40 meters. So that makes sense to me. So I don't know if they have those short sprints as well as the time trial.
It's called the bleep test.
So, the England have the 40 meters and the yo-yo test, the bleep test. They have both. So they've got both.
Yes, well, I know in the NFL they've got the 40-yard dash, and they time you there in the combine to see. But I think maybe that's a better metric. But no one's a sprinter, Tim. Sisanda's not a sprinter.
No, I know. But I think it's a little archaic at the moment where it is. I think it needs to move forward. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, England and Australia used to have this time trial. They don't anymore. I could be wrong, but that's what I seem to read when I was researching before we went on.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. Saying that, if you don't reach them, I don't think you should play. If those are the standards, then those are the standards for me. But the big issue I have, this is a huge issue. Okay, so you hand it over to the coach. You've got Sasanta Magala, for example. He's had a fantastic semi-final, man of the match performance, but he's got a problem with his knee in the last few overs. It's a little bit suspect. He says to you, "I'm 85%." So you do the fitness test. He fails it. You want to win that final. You play him. You win. You win. So Santa Magala is out for 6 to 8 weeks because you aggravated his injury. So you are going to put your team's success over a player's well-being. I think that is going to happen. I'm not saying coaches want to do that. I'm saying that conundrum is going to cause problems. It is going to get to that stage when the coach is going to go, you know what, I want to win. He's a few seconds behind or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to play him. And then you have unintended consequences. He's then out for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. So I've got a huge problem with that. I understand why they've gone this route. I still think it should be up to Cricket South Africa. And if you miss the fitness test, you miss the fitness test. At least then you knew where you stood.
Yes.
If you missed,
you missed. You're saying change the fitness test, but still don't put the power in the coach's hands. And I think for me, that's the most important thing. I thought the fitness test was the worst representation of a player's fitness, because running those speeds, you're effectively a marathon runner, you're a comrades runner essentially. So for me, that's what it was, and I kind of got that they wanted the Proteas to look a certain profile, but we're not there. We're not there. The last one thing I want to talk about before we go is as CSA opened their media accreditation portal. Just going back, it is SA Emerging. Tim, I know you watched a bit of SA Emerging. Was there anybody out there who emerged for you?
It was interesting because let me just look at my my numbers here. Apologies, but I just need to get this correct. So, put these into perspective. Of the Zimbabwe emerging squad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of them have played for Zimbabwe. 9 of them. And it ranges from one game to half a dozen. 9 of them have played for the national side. The South African squad, none of them have played.
Yeah.
And a handful of them, until yesterday, hadn't actually played List A, a fixture.
Yes.
They played other first class or a T20. I won't say Jordan Harman, because I actually think for his talent, for his ability, I think he should have done more. I think he should have done more. The Zimbabwe emerging bowling is the sort of bowling that he faces every day in the nets at the Warriors.
At the Warriors.
The one guy that stood out for me was Copeland, Matthew Copeland. He only made 45, but if you take into consideration what happened yesterday when he lost his mother, to have that focus to knuckle down when South Africa were in a bit of a tricky situation, I thought he played really well, and he was visibly angry when he got out because he knew he made a mistake. But I thought he was, up until that point, I thought this boy's he's now made it. No, he's now. We know
Does he have
talent.
that thing to be a Protea?
I think he's got that thing to go to that next level. Okay. SAA or because it's emerging. I think he could play SAA, no problem, without any question.
Is he a player to watch for the season?
I think so. I thought he drove exceptionally well. I really enjoyed his own drives. He looked like a guy who was determined to say, you know what, I want to make runs today. I want to make runs. Obviously, it was good to see Liam Elder playing as well. He was good with the ball. Very much spin-friendly conditions. The Zimbabwean emerging 3 spinners caused the South Africans all sorts of bother when they battered. I think the big picture was guys got starts. They didn't kick on. So hopefully as the series progresses, they'll realise they need to kick on. They need to get past that 20s. Joshua Wood just made 25. Looked good for 25. Then they only had himself to blame when he got out. I think all in all, it was good exercise for them. I think the series they could definitely win. They do need to improve there with the bowling. I think the bowling was a little bit samey.
It wasn't yes.
Huh?
Yeah, it wasn't threatening. And the thing I got out of that, I only watched the bowling innings, and I was just like, okay, guys, we're not taking wickets today, and I don't understand why. And I don't know if there's a place for a Luto, but obviously Luto's a little bit older. But I would have loved for someone who has had the experience.
Both of them have a 31-year-old, both teams. So they've got a 31-year-old. I've forgotten who it is now. And we've got Musa Twala, who didn't play yesterday, but he is in the squad.
Yes, so, and I think he have to come in at some point. But yeah, Tim, I think that's where we should end it. Obviously, condolences to the Copeland family. But yeah, all the best to SA Emerging. There'll be a lot more games, so we'll probably talk about those. But we're going to be looking at previewing that SA Oz series and maybe some more interviews before the actual domestic season starts, because that's where we make our money. But if you want to support us, please do follow us on the Full Pod at X, as well as the One More Sports Radio YouTube channel. Also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Only good reviews, 5 stars, please. But bring the comments, and we like debating, and we will do that as we like, as you send them in. But outside of that, thank you very much. Have a nice day and enjoy the week. Goodbye and lesale kakahiso.